see in your newsletter, I am publishing the sermon notes again in the newsletter. So if you look at page 3 of the newsletter, you find the notes there. These are just some of the highlights of the main points that I would like to cover. So if you look back, you'll be reminded of much of what I've said. I'm expanding upon it as I reach through 1 Corinthians 12. Let's now read together from verse 1. Paul opens up a new section in this letter, addressing some of the questions that they had in an earlier letter that they had written to him. So when he opens with now concerning, he's answering some of the questions. So verse 1 now, concerning spiritual gifts, brothers, I do not want you to be uninformed. You know that when you were pagans, you were led astray to mute idols, however you were led. Therefore, I want you to understand that no one speaking in the Spirit of God ever says Jesus is accursed. And no one can say Jesus is Lord except in the Holy Spirit. Now, there are a variety of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are varieties of service, but the same Lord. And there are varieties of activities, but it is the same God who empowers them all in every one. To each is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good. No one is given through the Spirit the utterance of through one. Verse 8. For to one is given through the Spirit the utterance of wisdom, and to another the utterance of knowledge, according to the same Spirit. To another faith by the same Spirit. To another gifts of healing by one Spirit. To another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another the ability to distinguish between spirits, to another various kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. All these are empowered by one and the same Spirit, with organs to each one individually as he wills. Just as the body is one and has many members, and all the members of the body through many are one body, so it is with Christ. For in one Spirit we were all baptized into one body, Jews or Greeks, slaves or free, and all were made to drink of one Spirit. For the body does not consist of one member, but of many. If the foot should say, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, that would not make it any less a part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, I do not belong to the body, that would not make it any less a part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would be the sense of smell? But as it is, God arranged the members in the body, each one of them as He chose. If all were a single member, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, yet one body. Only so far. May the Lord bless the reading of this word. Now, as I read this section, you would have no doubt listened to the list of the things that was listed there, the various gifts of the Spirit. And that's an attention grabber, because that's many of the Christians today who listen to this list off, and we try and think, where do I fit in with those spiritual gifts? Which one is my particular gift? Now, Paul is not so much concerned in his letter here with each one's particular gift, because it's complicated, it's various, it's multifaceted. Each one has a variation of gifts within the individual person. But for Paul, the main concern is not to address your personal gifting. So in my sermon, in expounding upon this, it would not be right for me to address individual giftedness. What Paul is getting at in his letter in this point, now concerning the spiritual gift, brothers, he says to them, I do not want you to be uninformed. I want you to know. I want you to pay attention to certain things. If you look at your notes, you'll see at the last paragraph there, Paul gives us 3 criteria to discern the work of the Holy Spirit. What Paul is concerned for is that the church not pay attention to the variation of the different kinds of spiritual gifts, but he wants them to know what is the true spiritual gifts. He wants them to discern what is a true gift of the Holy Spirit and which are not. So he gives us certain criteria in this text. 3 criteria to discern the work of the Holy Spirit. The first test is found in verse 3, and that's the one we'll pay most attention to this morning. Verse 3, he says, therefore I want you to understand that no one speaking in the Spirit of God ever says Jesus is accursed, And no one can say Jesus is Lord except in the Holy Spirit. A person who has the Holy Spirit is a person who acknowledges the Lordship of Jesus Christ. Now, the phrase Jesus is Lord has become a little bit watered down in our day. What I mean by that is the time in which Paul wrote, Jesus is Lord. There were certain implications if someone were to acknowledge that Jesus is Lord, because in the time of writing, there is only one emperor, there is only one Lord, there is only one God. The ruler of the land would be as the God, as the Lord. And to say that anyone else is Lord except the Lord under which you are, politically speaking, would be a threat to your life. And so no one can say Jesus is Lord and understand the consequences of that speech. Jesus is Lord and the implications thereof. The implications of saying Jesus is Lord is no less the implications in our day. The same implications that were back then are the same implications for us now. The only thing is that there's no ruler or lord like the Emperor of Rome who's going to persecute us because he thinks himself as a god.